She came here last week and gave us a tease of what to expect tonight. Please welcome to the Inspired Word stage, Miss Joanna Hoffman.
There are days when an iPod on shuffle can be your worst enemy. Sadistically syncing up to Where Did Our Love Go by the Supremes, just as the ex you haven't seen in 2 years miraculously appears before you on 5th Avenue, holding hands with a pretty new girlfriend. Fuck you, iPod. But then suddenly, as if sensing the need for quick transition, the universe slides through plastic cracks and unravels sound like a childhood blanket, and Jay-Z comes through the headphones, and you tell all of 5th Avenue, what's my motherfucking name? Joanna. Who I'm rolling with tonight? My bananas. And you know that today, your iPod is your best friend, reminding you that you are so far above all of this bullshit, and there is so much more to you than the shadows bending backwards to frame anyone's absence. It's that you can believe that not despite the swagger and the boldness, but because of it, Jay-Z is a man who has been hurt, who knows you can't build anything shatterproof until you know every possible way it can break. So turn it up, hold down repeat. If your rocketing chest is a metronome on fire, know that the timing is never going to be right for you. You make your own entrance music, so you had better make it loud. How are we doing, Inspired Word? Happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I know it's been a long night. Thank you to Mike for having me, to our awesome features and your sexy sonnets. This is a poem called Hope. Hope is the stupid little yellow bird who used to batter his skull against my living room window over and over and over again with unrelenting excitement, as if that next desperate surge forward would melt his wings through glass, softly shoving aside molecules for twig-like bones to pass through, and all of this for that lovebird screaming behind bars, and he wanted that bird, thought, her wings may be clipped, but damn, she is fly. Wanted to make her tweet his name. And so every day for 6 months, his head thumping harmonized with the clinking of breakfast spoons. And my sister would look up from her Cheerios and say, that bird is stupid. And 15 years later, I look up from my beer and say, no, that bird is hope. And sometimes hope seems stupid to everyone but the one hoping, and everyone hopes for something. The truth is, I pretend to be a cynic, but I am really a dreamer who is terrified of wanting something she may never get. See, I tried to take Jay-Z's advice and be forever macking, but I have no game, and my pickup lines are all haikus. I just want to show you the energy that crackles beneath my veins like exposed power lines. Like, my potential is as infinite as these blur faces rushing past me, and that's how I feel every time you call me. Like, even our silences end in ... like, who knows what can happen. And I have no flight plan, just a speck in the distance of something that just might be close to beautiful, so why not unfold these wings? Crush empty air between them like empty excuses, like this crush on you is crushing me, and I am a crush monster. I get crushes on ideas and ideals and non-profit organizations, and I could think of nothing better than spending my days making this world a little sweeter. And my dad says, that's really nice, Joanna, but there are bills to pay. And I can't even say how many grown-ups have tossed me similar consolation prizes. Like the woman who came up to me once after a poetry reading and said, your idealism's real cute, but you'll grow up one day. And you should know, things will only get worse from here. And I should have said, lady, you had better fucking pray I never grow up, because if there weren't people out there who believed in possibility, shit would never get done. I believe in evolution like a river slowly winding its way up a mountain, like a broken-winged bird spiraling to heaven. Things can only go up from here, and miracles happen every day. So I hope for the day I can sit at a Jerusalem bar with my Arab friends, and the only dispute will be over who buys the beer. And I hope for that wedding I've wanted ever since I knew how to want. And maybe hope is stupid, as long as hope is a kamikaze whisper from your lips, never meant to go anywhere but crashing down, and maybe that's why it does. But I believe in a hope that flies, like a little yellow bird soaring into your living room through a window that has been open all along. This next poem is about that annoying thing that happens when your ex says, let's just be friends. But they don't really mean it, and then they just email you stupid shit that you don't care about. Dear Sarah, this is to inform you that I've set up my Gmail account to automatically respond with this poem every time you email me, spitting stupid small talk into my inbox. So to answer the questions you weren't really asking, I'm fine. My mom is also fine. And yeah, New York is great. And to answer the one question you were asking but didn't, yes. Yes, it's been 4 years since I was just a really bad waitress who loved you, and you were a puppeteer who couldn't stand the idea of loving a waitress.
Stop dating Leos!
I know, right? You deserve to be with someone who will motivate you into getting a real job, you told me, as we stood in the hallway of your empty apartment, paint burning my lungs and boxes ripped open like rib cages. When I told you I still loved you, you asked me why I would love someone who didn't love me back. As if that were something I should have known by the way you smoothed your hair down with shaking fingers when I walked in, yes. Your nervous smile at my parents' house on Passover, how you held my hand in the gardens of Santa Fe and told me we would retire there together, or how your naked body spilt against mine like milk onto the kitchen floor. I've sold all those postcards to girls gone wild, and yes, the first time I laid in bed with someone who wasn't you, my plastic skin melted, and all of these organs lay shivering and bare like fish flashing technicolor death throes. How dare you drag that dead sigh from my stomach with copper wire, but still. The only reason I let her keep touching me is because she was there and you weren't, and yes, I moved to the city you never thought I would. Got a real job in an apartment in Brooklyn. The girl who once ran face first into a cement wall painted like air doesn't exist anymore. Now, I race the sun to the Statue of Liberty every morning, write myself love letters in beer bottles and mail them home, and yes, this is the first day I've thought about you in many. On most, you are the amen that drips like drool. The eyelash fluttering eclipses to block out the dust, the kind of reflex that only could have been taught. And then you email. The subject line says, hey, with 7 exclamation points, and each one is like a bullet shot into a disembodied deer head mounted onto the wall. When I told you I still cared about the girl who broke my heart a year before we met, you told me I was desperate. Well, maybe I'm just not as scared as you are to admit this. I've peeled my skin down to citrus, and I know I can never write you back anymore. But that doesn't mean I don't remember the time when you told me that when I clap, it looks like I'm catching fireflies. Don't you think I still have ashes on my palms from touching you? Don't you think they burn every time I touch the subway handrail, even when I forget why? When I come home for Thanksgiving, my mom is waiting there for me at the front door. 3 glasses of wine into dinner, I start to make political statements that I know she will violently disagree with. Both because I think it's kind of funny to watch her throw handfuls of animal crackers against the wall in anger, but also because I believe them. I tell her, the Islamophobia in this country is like a blaring siren everyone seems to be slumbering through, and this is how shit got started in Nazi Germany. She slams her fist down on the table and asks me, how could you compare this to anti-Semitism? How could you forget the Holocaust? Mom, how could I forget the Holocaust when from the time I was small, my veins had been electrified into train tracks, my skin folded into the caution tape surrounding the landmine of guilty survival? Memory is a bear trap, pausing you in midair above a sidewalk that has never stopped moving. Like all things in nature, history is a spiral, a tornado frozen and siphoned into hourglass. Once, I stood in front of the remains of a concentration camp in Poland, saw the apartment buildings not a mile away, and you told me how all of those people just stood there and did nothing as bodies piled to the ceilings of gas chambers. Mom, history is a spiral. Years from now, they're going to be asking us, where were you when they spat on that man for praying to Allah? When in a city, a country full of immigrants, a mosque suddenly became the symbol for everything they have deemed un-American. Did you stare like a subway zombie when the teenage boys ripped off her burqa and called her towelhead? Did you scrape the dictionary from your tongue when they called her a terrorist? Because our own words have become suicide bombs when we are able to drop them so mindlessly. I am my mother's daughter. Mom, before I even knew how to read, you brought home books about Martin Luther King and read me his speeches. You would cry watching the evening news, and Dad would say, "Look how big your mother's heart is. This is where I come from." When I come home, either as a jet-lagged American drunk on the luxury of leaving things behind, or a girl walking up the driveway of her mother's house on Thanksgiving, I know I'm an ambassador to those waiting on the other side of the door for me, whether we like it or not. And the cards I could hold here, Jew, woman, American, crumble under the weight of these simple truths. History is a spiral. I am made of helixes. I am made of spirals. I am wind, plugged into a hurricane that hasn't arrived just yet but smells so familiar. Mom, you taught me to be a prism reflecting other people's heartaches, so what exactly did you expect me to become? You can't stitch values into me and then complain about how the pattern turned out. To my country and my mother, when I come home with this tangle of mirrors underneath my skin that reflects the faces of those you have deemed your enemy, please know, I am your daughter. I am all America. I am everything that you have made me to be. So I'm going to do one more kind of sad thing, and then it's going to get more uplifting. So I'm in a performance group called the Spoken Word Almanac Project. We write poems in response to current events happening in the news. And so this poem is in response to Michelle Bachmann's criticism of the HPV vaccine to prevent cervical cancer. This is called How to Accept a Diagnosis. If this body is temple, but also grab bag, airport and anchor, hospital and mausoleum, the army of white blood cells that kill in your name daily, and the cancer that sprawls, ungrateful, down the hallway of your veins. Who do you swing fists at when the doctor tells you, well, it's been in your family for years? This time capsule of blistering fever, whispering the thin scream of my mortality into the innocent tick of bloodstream. I have inherited this. I can't even say the word cancer without tasting the septic circus of hospital waiting rooms. Nurses handing me pamphlets on the stages of grief. So when I read 3 years ago that there was now a vaccine to prevent cervical cancer, the word finally crashed to the ocean floor of my jaw. Finally. 4,000 caskets a year swept back into the bodies of grandmothers and mothers, sisters and daughters, brittle skin painted back into flesh and sinew, curved up towards the sky like a plant, unabashedly framing its own survival. So to anyone who tries to tell me that giving an entire generation a chance at cancer-free survival is wrong, but dictating the birth of my friend's unwanted child or whether or not I can marry a woman is totally fine, to you, Michelle Bachmann, I say this. I know. Just like I know I have my mom's eyes that one day the doctor will tell me to take a seat. When she gives me my diagnosis, I will watch the sand pour from her lips into an hourglass I had forgotten was ticking down until now. I will think of my niece, her laughter that hovers for all the cold hours between us. When my sister takes her to the doctor to get that shot, she will cry watching her cry, and then a week later, they will forget it ever happened, that there was ever a reason to even think about something like cervical cancer, that science is more than just the man behind the curtain. It is prayer, slipped into syringe, the quietest finally tiptoeing across the silent morning, before tripping over itself in clumsy joy, before breaking into a run. And now for something completely different. Make some noise if you like Lady Gaga. Anybody? Awesome. Last time I did that, nobody made any noise, and it made me very sad. I wrote a poem about Lady Gaga wearing a meat dress. Yeah. You saw that? You see those pictures? Oh, you should look that up. It's really weird.
It's really weird.
And here now is Gaga. Her frock of fine flank flamencoing down her spine, a marble snake, iron flat. After all, the girl is born this way, baby, oh baby, as she is bluffing with her muffin on this liar's carousel, just stunning with her love in this Russian roulette without a gun. Gaga. Her lipstick hue is ambulance or a vertigo sticker. You're everything as long as it's free and comes with a side of Justin Bieber. Her bovine ball gown, still the baddest romance at the Grammys. Fat glistening like protein bling, framing her Gaga, ooh la la Gaga. Her toes wriggling on the edge of glory, the edge, tonight, yeah baby, tonight. And here now are Gaga and I shutting our Playboy mouths. Gaga and I turning our shirts inside out, wearing skin like skin. Shorty, I can see that you got so much energy. Please stay and let me watch you break it down. And Gaga chanting, half psychotic, sick hypnotic, got my blueprint, it's symphonic. She is a hamburger siren and I move closer, like a moth to a meatball burned by desire. That's the way Gaga goes in the now sirloin swelter of this award ceremony. Gaga, from all up on my disco stick and still. One moment please while I turn the page. She don't think too much, she just busts that stick. And do I want love or do I want fame? Here with Gaga fading gently into a strip of beef jerky at my side. Brisket sisters on the floor chanting, love game, a boy and a girl and a hunt and a game. With our hearts swirled into our gowns, we cowardly lions, so loud and so terrified, chasing you down until you love us. Yeah. The summer I turned 14, my grandmother got me smashed at a wedding in Jersey. Somewhere in between the third glass of champagne and the fourth ABBA song, she turned to me and said, Joanna, someday you're gonna have a wedding just like this. And when you do, please, don't let them play any disco. I didn't know how to tell her that I probably wouldn't be having any wedding at all. That I wore these bones like a voiceover when really I was in love with my friend Kathleen. I thought just maybe, if I held this itch underwater long enough, it would float up blue. Try to claw the want for my voice every time Kathleen asked what I thought of her boyfriend. Tearing all the power cords from my drive-in imagination and burning every lamp in my throat watching her. I learned what shame feels like. I painted my skin with postcard gleam as if the best I could ever hope for is to reflect somebody else's shine. As if there were some parts of me better off drowned in a swimming pool of whiteout. But it is not in our nature to cringe before the mirror like this. A person born blind will tilt their head back and extend their arms when they feel pride. It's in our bones, not to bake shame into our blood, but to live boldly. And so now, all these years later, here is my pride. For refusing to allow the wet blanket stare of strangers on the subway smother this burn to hold her hand. For every time someone has said, wow, you don't look gay, and I didn't say thank you. For not allowing my heart to be strip searched by those who want to know if my love is pure enough. Because I've already spent years committing hate crimes against myself, and I already know all of those tricks. So when my friend asks me why there are no straight pride parades, I tell her, you can't be proud of something you never had to fight for. This is for every wedding I've watched from the sidelines, every fairy tale with stipulations, every it's a choice, it's a phase, you're disgusting, every gay kid who believed nothing would ever make this better because home meant break the parts of yourself that don't fit into the plaster of who you're supposed to be. Well, we already are exactly who we are supposed to be. And just this summer, I woke up living in a city where I could actually get married one day. And I think back to that wedding in Jersey, how I was the last one to leave the dance floor, makeup smeared and beaming, how my grandmother grabbed my hand as I walked by and said, hey, I'm proud of you. With no buts or if-onlys clinging to the underside of her voice, and how finally, all these years later, I'm now able to say the same thing to myself. This poem is for anybody who has ever sent a thoughtful text message and gotten a fucking smile face in response. Emoticon English Dictionary. Smile face. I like you. I like bread. I'm drunk. I just swallowed a goldfish. I just mailed a Chinese takeout menu to myself. Frown face. I'm sad. You won't make out with me. My goldfish died. I am so hungover, I just walked into the subway and watched 3 trains go by. Wink face. I want to make out with you. I want to borrow money from you. I'm a pirate. I just ate a hot wing and it splattered into my eye. Diagonal face. I just swallowed a staircase. I'm unsure of things. There is Nelly Muzak playing in this elevator. No emoticon. I have no personality. I mean what I say. I'm Amish. I don't care if you're starved for 2-dimensional depictions of emotions. If anything I've said here is unclear, then maybe you should fucking call me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 2 more poems. I have a chapbook called Riot Unicorn. It is $6.
That girl good.
Thank you, Curly Fry.
Curly fries.
Curly fries.
Curly fries.
This poem is called Mile High Faith. On the airplane, I find Jesus. My Jewish mother would be horrified, but she isn't here. On this gerbil-sized plane, thrashing like a baby's fist through the question mark sky. If she was, she would probably be screaming, I imagine. Instead, I am praying, head skyward, clenching the armrest as if it were the hand of the last beautiful moment I want to stay alive for, if only to remember it longer, to write a poem about it someday. If someday is now, Jesus, save me. I will believe in you. I mean I do. I mean I believe in life. I'm sorry. For every stupid moment, I wanted to fold myself onto the train tracks and just listen to the doorbell of last call booming over me, a rusted rocket. The man next to me, the one with no understanding of personal space or inoffensive cologne, smiles at me. It's just turbulence, he says, patting my leg. I'd like to use his arm as a ripcord. Jesus, please, no one on this plane loves me. There are no beautiful girls whose necks I could use as sedatives, no men who frown like my father. It's not fair, Jesus. If I knew for sure we were crashing, I probably wouldn't call anyone anyway, because what is there to say that I haven't said? I believe in Jesus, just thought you should know that about me. Well, I don't. I hate to admit I believe in dumb luck and in lazy statistics.